This is a special year, the 60th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. There's a special Herald article that is linked to this anniversary. And recognizing that so much yet will take place in the Holy Land, the panel discussion this evening is Israel 2008 and beyond. Our brothers this evening are Brother Len Grice from Delaware Valley and Brother Jim Parkinson from San Gabriel. Brethren, I'm going to actually hand over the control of the PowerPoint to Brother Jim, who is going to begin with a presentation on some of the issues he believes are important for us to focus on. This will be followed by Brother Len making a presentation dealing with issues that we need to focus on, and then we're going to have some questions and discussion in the time that's left.
Okay, we'll start here with the first slide. We look at Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is given to us as the final battle. Whether or not that coincides precisely with the expression the time of Jacob's trouble is quite another question. But in Ezekiel chapter 38, we see two power blocks. The stronger of them at that time is to be in the first 6 verses. And we see in the eastern block, Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And that would be, as Gog or Magog, pretty much the great Russians. The Mongols is another part of that tribe. In fact, Lamsa translates Magog as Mongol. Also, the Moguls who went down into India are part of that tribe. The Samoyed tribes in the north of Russia, all the way to the Yakut tribes in eastern Siberia, and even the Eskimos in Alaska. Allied with them apparently are to be Armenia and Georgia, described as Meshech and Tubal. The Georgians don't call themselves Georgians or Gruzians, but they call themselves Kartvelians from Kara Tubal, the mountains or rocks of Tubal. And their capital is still named similarly, Tbilisi. So it's not too difficult to see the arrangement of those 3 tribes together, because historically they've all been Eastern Orthodox, while the Georgians and the Armenians are completely surrounded by Turkic Muslim tribes who want to exterminate them. Allied with them are to be Persia or Iran. You'll notice an arrow up there. I guess we'll have to see about using the pointer here.
Use the pointer.
Yes, if we use the pointer here, you'll see this arrow here. It's for a purpose, to show that Iran is in the process of changing sides. It's not yet so closely allied with Russia and the other tribes, but it is shifting, it is changing. Similarly, Black Africa is not there yet. Kush, translated Ethiopia. North Africa, translated as Put. That would be everything west of Egypt, from Libya to Morocco. Then we have Gomer, the Germanic nations in the north of Europe, and then Togarma, the Turkic nations. The Septuagint doesn't say Togarma, but Thurgama, from which we get our word Turk. Now we drop down to verse 13, and we see Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish with all the young lions thereof. Sheba and Dedan, Arabia. And the merchants of Tarshish is the same as the Celtic tribes, the ones of westernmost Europe. And the young lions thereof, you're living in one. The young lions, the former colonies of Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, and so forth, that's the Americas, probably including South America. So, another thing we see of interest in verse 13 is that the head of the western bloc is not to be the merchants of Tarshish, but Sheba and Dedan. The Arabia is to become at the head of the western bloc. And we see already, especially our petrodollars going over to Arabia. As some have quipped, the balance of payments is that the Americas, and Western Europe for that matter, buy their oil, and in return they buy our businesses, our real estate, and our politicians. Now, in Egypt, I don't think we'll take time to go through the picture of the Exodus from Egypt, but to say that there are 10 plagues, and the first 3 fall on the Israelites as well as the Egyptians, and Moses doesn't administer them. But for the last 7, Moses takes the dominant role, and there's a separation that the Lord prescribes between the peoples so that the plagues fall no more upon the Israelites. And that sets the 7 last plagues apart so that Christ at his return began the harvest work of separation. And I will suggest that the plagues as we see them in Egypt show us the major world events, even though the 7 last plagues in Revelation don't show us so much the major world events as the things that the Lord intends that those world events shall accomplish towards the downfall of Babylon. So quickly, plague number 1, which would be up till World War I, it's the call for the Jews to leave the world for Israel, and at the same time for the church to leave sectarianism. The second plague, which was a destructive plague in Egypt, World War I. But it's also a benefit to Israel. It gave us the Balfour Declaration for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The third of these plagues was not destructive. It would correspond, I think, to the Depression. With the world economies going down, there's no longer a real attraction for the Jews to stay away from going to Palestine. The fourth of the 7 last plagues, again, was a destructive plague. I would suggest World War II, when Hitler hunted the Jews, causing many to flee Central Europe for Israel. We go now to the last of the 3 of the 7 last plagues. The 5th of those was east wind bringing locusts into all the borders of Egypt, eating up the crops of Egypt, not Goshen, where the Lord's people dwelt. And then the mighty west wind comes and blows them all out again. And since World War II, we've been witnessing an east versus west struggle in which the east was prevailing for several decades, but now the west seems to be prevailing. Accompanied with that was that we have over 1 million of the 3 million Soviet Jews already returned to Israel. The next plague was not destructive. I will suggest that